So we're going to work on this assignment DR3, which is to draw a perfect square. And the top part up here, I'm telling you how to draw a perfect square, and I'll give you an example. And then the bottom part is the assignment. So first I'm going to explain what a perfect square is. So I'm going to tape my paper down. I have 3 people here with me. Anybody have an idea what a perfect square is?
90 degrees on all angles.
Say that louder.
90 degrees on all angles.
Yeah, but more than that.
And the sides are all equal.
The sides are all equal. So the only tool you need for this is your triangle, parallel rule, your 45-degree triangle, your parallel rule, and pencil and such. So a perfect triangle is one that is perfectly the same on all sides. So if I am drawing a triangle and say I want to do this one, I'm going to do it 3 inches long. So I measure 3 inches and I come across the top and the bottom. So that side is exactly 3 inches long. And then I want to come over 3 inches. But if I measure, just like when we measure a line, I could be a little bit off. And that, you want to come back here and watch? I could be a little bit off and not have exactly 3 inches. So the way to get it perfectly square is to go into any one of the corners and draw a 45-degree angle. And then that makes this side and this side exactly equal. So if you were a little bit off, you've still got a perfect square. That's all a perfect square is. If I do the X in the other direction, these 2 corners should line up perfectly on it. That's what a perfect square is. So it's a pretty simple concept. And what we're going to do now is we are going to draw 3 perfect squares. And I gave you the sizes on the sheet here. And I said square 1 is 3/4 of an inch scale is 2'7". Square 2 at 1/4 inch scale is 10'5". And square 3 at 3 inch scale is 6 3/8 inches. So what I need to do is I need to figure out how to get those 3 squares and have them perfectly spaced, the same amount of space between each one. So if I've got my title block at the bottom, how much vertical drawing space do I have? How big's the paper first? How big's the sheet of paper?
12 inches.
No.
I mean,
8.5 by 11. So I've got and I can't draw where my title block is. How high is the title block?
an inch.
Title block's an inch high. So that leaves me with how much vertical space here to draw in?
10 inches.
10 inches. I've got 10 inches. So I've got 10 inches. I've got 10 inches that I can draw with, right? And if I've got 3 squares, this is my paper, and I want them spaced perfectly. So there's my title block is 1 inch, right? And this part right here is 10 inches high. So I've got how many spaces that I need to figure out the gap for? I got 3 squares. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So I have to figure out how big, I want all those 4 spaces to be the same width. But my squares are all different sizes at different scales. So any clue on how I would do that? How I would figure it out? No? Okay. I'm just going to draw a line across here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure on this line square number 1. I'm going to start the left-hand side. And square number 1 at 3/4 of an inch scale is 2'7". So I'm going to make a mark where that hits. right there. And then I'm going to take square 2, which at a 1/4 inch scale is 10'5", and I'm going to mark that. And then I'm going to take square 3 at 3 inch scale, which is 6 3/8, and I'm going to mark that. So this is square 1, its length. This is square 2 length, and this is square 3 length. So this is how much space each of those squares. So that's my square space. So to find out the gap here, I need to take that 10 inches minus the total length. I'll call it TL. Equals X. And then I have to divide whatever I have left over by 4. Does that make sense? Architecture is all about math, right? So what I'm going to do is at full scale, which is the regular ruler, I'm going to measure how long this line is to the nearest 1/4 of an inch, because we're going to divide by 4 and that'll get us down to 1/16 of an inch. So I get it at 6 1/4. So I have 10 inches minus 6 1/4 inch equals what?
3 3/4.
Nope. Ten inches minus 6 1/4 equals 3 3/4. Right? 6 plus 3 is 9. 1/4 plus 3/4 is 1. So it gets us 10. So now I need to take this 3 3/4 and I need to divide it by 4. Does anybody know how you... First I have to make it into an improper fraction. So I need to take 4 times 3 plus 3. So 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15 over 4. And then to divide, do you know how you divide by 4? You multiply by the reciprocal. So then I'm going to multiply straight across. So my answer is 15/16. So that's how I calculated what each of these 4 spaces need to be. I had to do a lot of math to get there and figure out what my total length of my space is. You'll do this if you're in architecture, you'll do it if you're in any of the construction trades. You're always going to have to figure out your space needs, and it's not always an easy option. So that's the math behind this. Now I need to take my new piece of paper put it on the table. I'm going to tape it down. I reuse my tape over and over until it gets too bad or too crumbly to reuse. Once I've got the tape on there, I'm going to come to the bottom. I'm going to put my title block in, which for right now, all I'm going to do is blank off where that 1 inch space is. And then I asked you to come in. So that's where my title block will be. Now we're going to go up to the top. I asked you to come in 2.5 inches from the edge. So I'm going to come in 2.5 inches. And I'm going to draw a line straight down. So that's where the edge of my squares is going to be. And then I need to draw the first line first. So I'm going to come down 15/16. There's 16/16 in an inch, so we're 1 tick less than an inch. 15/16. That's the top of my first square. So there's my intersection. My first square, now I go back to the scale, which is 3/4 of an inch, and it's 2'7". I draw a line down. See, these would all be guidelines right now, and I'm doing them darker so you can see them, but they would all be guidelines. And then I bring my 45-degree triangle across. And where that intersects, I can bring the line across. And then I can come and check it by having this intersection at the other side. So there's square one. Then I'm going to do square two, so I got to do my space again. So we're back to this drawing. So I did the space, I did square one. Now I've got to do the space again, which I said was this 15/16. So I'm going to come and measure 15/16. Draw a line across, and yours will all be really light guidelines at this point. Draw a line across, and then I'm going to go to square number 2. And square number 2 at 1/4 inch scale is 10 foot 5 inches. So I'm going to go to the 1/4 inch scale, and I'm going to measure 10 foot 5. And I'm going to draw the line down again. And then do my 45 across. There's my perfect square. I'm going to check it. And you have to use the 45-degree triangle or it's not going to be square. So that's square 2. Now I'm going to do the space again, 15/16. And you notice I don't know how long the line is, so I'm not worried since I'm using guidelines of how long I draw that line. So here's my 3rd line. Now I'm going to go to the 3-inch scale, and I'm going to measure out 6 3/8 inch. Draw my line down. And then check to make sure I'm perfectly square. It won't work if the triangle's not resting on your parallel rule or on your, so it needs to be down on your parallel rule. So there I've got 3 squares. I've got 4 spaces that are all equal. If you get to the bottom, this one might be a little, it's actually a little bit more, I think. Yeah. Than the others because we were estimating on that first measurement. So we're off just a little bit. So, but they're pretty equally spaced all the way down. So this should all be in light guidelines. And then if you look at your paper, the first square is going to be a lightweight line. Second square is a medium weight line. And the third square is a heavyweight line. That's only the outside edge of the square. Do not darken in the X's. So this one would be a lightweight line, which is thin, using which lead?
HB.
No, people got the lead question really wrong on the quiz. So this is a thin line using 2H lead. And then we're going to do a medium weight line right here using HB lead. And then we're going to do a heavyweight line here using HB lead again. And the heavyweight line is 2 lines overlapping. So 2 medium weight lines overlapping. So you're going to want to pull the lines all in towards the center. So you'll have light, medium, heavy. And I will post a picture of an example of this on Blackboard. Do you 3 have any questions? Because you're right here. Good? Okay. So this is due a week from today. Let me